Well, I say that.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is your favorite crypto trading show in the morning. Crypto and Coffee with your trading bros. I'm your host, Clutch Crypto. We got B. Wellington. And was the pump or the move up yesterday in the New York session a bull trap, or is it signs of things to come here in the near term? So let's get to the charts, check it out, and see what we can tell you.
Yeah, so we'll start like we always start on the daily. I know this is kind of getting repetitive for folks, but the more you hear it, the more it sinks in that, we're still having this pattern play out. And it's playing out, kind of exactly like we've talked about. We've got the death cross that's happening on the daily relative to the 200 and the 800 EMA, like we had mentioned. They're going to try to clear out some of these shorts. The fact that, we've had this one daily candle here, that kind of closed higher, and then we're still within that same candle here. I mean, we need to really, for those of you that, want to have a bullish case, we've got to move out of this zone and we've got to do it with some volume. As you can see, that volume hasn't really come in. In fact, we've had a little bit more yesterday, but we'll see how we go today, see what the session looks like. But overall volume, just overall, has been declining. If you just look at it from here, going in here, all of your large volume is coming from, sell-offs. And, I think that's more of a macro event relative to the crypto side versus anything else. Um, but there's still some upside. So we are sitting here at this EMA on the daily, and we'll see that on lower time frames. But we're kind of exactly where we thought we would be, and just a eye of caution. We do have these wicks that are down here that look like they want to be recovered. And again, if they do recover and break, we don't really have a whole lot of support until we get into kind of the 650 area and ultimately into this 300 area, which is where I'm projecting we reach at some point in time over the next few weeks. Look at this horrible looking chart. But if we if we go to something like the hourly, I've got a couple of zones that I've marked off here, and these zones are potential areas in which we could get to, and if we got to them, I would say that those would be high probability trades relative to range trading. So, of course, we've got, this was the Monday New York stop hunt from last week that we're still looking at. We probably got a lot of folks still trapped up here. So, if we do get up to that area, which is 1240, we do expect to pull back from there. So, and that pullback could come all the way back to the 200. So, that could be a potential good trade with stop hunts, no financial advice. If we do pull through that and we see some vectors and some high volume coming to that area, again, we've got this wick here we've probably got a lot of trap longs up in that area as well. So that could be another potential pullback. So, for those, if we see that move to the upside, those would be areas that, I would be looking for. And then to the downside, it's just, it's ridiculous how much stuff we have down here, but we still have vectors down in this area of 1056. We've got vectors down in this area of 1026. And then ultimately, we've got, these vectors here that could take us all the way down back into this 900 area. I would think that we would, somewhat stop at that 1,000 because that is kind of a psychological number where a lot of people like to buy at 1,000. So expect us to get into that area and then probably pop up and then ultimately move down. But right now we're still kind of in that same holding pattern that we were, yesterday. I think we started off, with this drop here, but look how tight this range has been just from the last couple of days or so. I mean, we really haven't done too much. Overall price has just been really choppy up and down. So I expect, somewhat of the same. When we're here at the daily open, we've been flirting around with that. Going into smaller time frames, that potentially can tell us a little bit more about, intradays. We have had the cycle up to the upside. We've got, the price above the 200 on the 14 minute. Seems like we want to go up. But here's the thing: if we keep moving up, and we start getting these vectors, but we don't go anywhere, like we haven't, the longer we do that, the more there's a case that we could drop off of this, but we'll just have to see how things develop. This
So,
is the
so
first
we
quarter.
currently have long strapped up in the 1170, 1180 range, right?
Yeah. So we'll just have to see. I mean, the short volume, or the shorts, haven't really. They've been somewhat exhausted. The longs are getting on board early. I think everybody's still pretty bullish about crypto, even though we have this, kind of this macro overhang. But we'll see. I mean, like I said, price hadn't gone anywhere. You see a lot of these cascades to the downside, upside. That's just for liquidation purposes to take people's money. So if you get involved with these things, just make sure you're on the right side of the trade. And if you're not, make sure you're using tight stops in these particular areas because it will chop. But we do see some compression here. And so, there is a potential that we could move up. I mean, we're not that far from these zones here just to come in and trap more longs before they bring it back down. But we'll see. We are due for another, what I would call a bear rally, which just be a move to the upside to clear out shorts before they move to the downside. Looking at funding rates, I mean, funding rates overall are pretty positive. So all this means is there's more folks thinking are on the long side versus the short side relative to some of the major exchanges. Always like to look at FTX and Binance because they're some of the larger exchanges, and all those guys are positive to a certain extent. This is a sentiment meter, so it's not anything that you put any money on, but it just shows you kind of where people are thinking. Overall. Here we also have open interest, which is at 3.8 billion. So we've been as far as the perpetual is concerned. So we've been hanging around that 3.8 to 3.9 billion in OI, which has been pretty consistent. Seems like that's where they want to keep them, but it just seems like they're building positions, letting folks build positions, and then taking out those liquidations. Overall, if we look at the traditional market's up. Futures were
They were pretty
negative.
flat.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
futures were negative yet earlier. Now we're kind of flat, relative to the futures that we were earlier. Oil's hanging out 98.42. I mean, oil below $100 is always positive. But they're saying that, well, this is part of the demand destruction that's out there. So let's see if that holds. There's a lot of news coming out with Saudi, as well. So we'll see. Bitcoin's flat. Everything's pretty much flat. So, we do have some news coming out. Factory orders are up. I mean, that's pretty positive actually for these factory orders. Core capital equipment order revisions 0.6 above last year. Tomorrow, I think FOMC meetings at 2 p.m. is going to be a very important.
That's today.
Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday.
The holiday.
Yeah, we had the holiday, man.
Oh man, thank you for putting that up.
You're welcome.
Okay, so today is the day.
Today is the day.
Activity. Tomorrow, I think these we talked about this earlier, but these FOMC meetings at 2 p.m., the quits, the job openings. I think Fed's trying to balance unemployment with this demand destruction relative to raising those rates and seeing what they'll do. So this is, we've been chopping around waiting for that. So Wednesday, these efforts at 2 p.m. should see some good things. And then tomorrow, we've got a lot of good data as well with the initial job claims, continuing job claims, and forward trade balance. I mean, all that's in the news, and then non-farm payroll. So Thursday, Friday, and today, 2 p.m., I think, you're really going to start seeing some activity, some trappiness, so I wouldn't trust first moves, second moves. I mean, I'd really wait for things to develop before you get in the trades, and just be mindful of the news that's coming out.
Very awesome, my friend.
That's all I got on my end, Clutch. Let's see what Bookmap and
let's check it out. So we have, and you can see my screen over here. Should be able to see it now. This is High Block Capital, and as you can see, we are still over here at positive 4 billion on the cumulative liquidation delta level. We still do have some really big open short long liquidations down to the downside. As you can see, we're starting to really get heavy on the long liquidations as well. 726 versus 280. And as we mentioned earlier, we have a bunch of longs trapped currently up here in the 1170 area, and then we're also planning to trap down here around the 1078 area. So you got about $100 range that we have traps set up for, and the big deal is which direction are we going to go? As you can see here, all the little green dots, these are longs. And if you want to do a little zoom in on kind of where we're looking at, uh, you know, people are buying the dip per se. All right here, and I think we got this big gap that we're currently working in that's not filled up. So to be honest with you, I really expect that we're probably going to see more of a ranging day today, where it's not going to be just a whole lot of price movement. But do want to show you over here on Bookmap. As you can see, we do have some long-term liquidity up here in this 1170 area, which is the same area that we have these longs trapped. It's just below that. Big key deal is if we're going to break out of that and move up. So I do expect us to attempt to retest this area a little bit later today, and possibly kind of just a choppy day to get our way back up there, but we will see. And as you can see, we're working down here to get to this 1120 area, which is the bottom of the session volume profile. That's where we have our orders at. A lot of shorts just jumped on board right here in this area that we're in. So be looking for a bounce down here in our 1120 area. See if we get that bounce. If we don't get that bounce, go ahead and we break through that. Go ahead and predict that we're going to see some lower price action today. As we always say, it's we can give you the ranges, and then and then if this scenario happens, depending on the market orders and everything that we have on the liquidity, long-term liquidity at 1,000. We had that yesterday. We still have that right now. And as you can see, if we do a little bit further zooming out here to get a big picture of overall direction they're trying to go to as of right now. No, there we go. Let's see, get this moved out. There it is. All of our long-term liquidity is still to the downside. So that really leads me to believe that all of these movements that we're currently seeing are just to get more longs on board, and don't know if they have what they want yet. So us ranging in the current area that we are in to try to get some more longs on board, I think that's a real probability. And I really do think that we're probably going to try to retest that 1170 area again today. But as I mentioned, I think we're just going to have some ranging area. We typically do have that at least one day during the week. And it's just it's really just to trap a lot of people, unfortunately, and that's just the case. But we'll see how it plays out. So pay attention to this 1120. If we get that nice bounce that we're talking about, again, I would definitely expect that we're going to retest this area if we get that bounce. That bounce doesn't happen, I would expect prices to get down into the thousands a little later today. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, that's sounds like a plan. I think if folks have been watching this show, they understand like this very dynamic market changes very quickly. We like to take a look at it and kind of see where we're at. The best times to trade are basically New York Open, a little bit before New York Open for day traders, and then at the close. So a lot of it depends on what happens, during the day. So we can make those trades kind of at the end of the days or those key moments. So, keep an eye on the chart and keep your risk reward well and your stops in place.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, AMF.